Kings of Leon. Welcome to the show, Caleb and Jared. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Great.
Yeah, awesome. What time is it where you guys are? Or are you in two completely separate locations?
It's 3:20 p.m. in Mexico City, and Caleb and I are in different hotel rooms.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was trying to work that out. Mexico, because you guys are recording there or playing there. What's the story?
We had a show last night and we have a couple of days off, so we're doing some press and they told us we finally made enough money we don't have to stay in the same room.
Yeah.
So
All right. Can I first off start by saying the brand new single, Mustang. Shit, yes. Lemon love it. It's so rad. Thanks, guys.
oh,
Thank
thank you.
you.
That's
Um,
exciting.
so my first thought upon hearing the song was it took me back. It was 20 years ago this year that you played the big day out in Auckland. It was the little stage. So the backfields dancing around when everything felt kind of, there was that electricity in the air when you guys were first starting. It was really tangible. You could feel it, like there were possibilities. That's what I feel about this tune. It harks back to something from earlier. Do you agree with that statement?
Sure. Um I feel like the thing that Mustang and actually the entire album, the thing that it has that perhaps our earlier stuff had was we were just in a creative space where we kind of shut ourselves away and we weren't concerned with outside opinions or results or anything. It was all about like we're just going to make the album that we want to make and we're going to fully like commit and not stop until we've achieved what we wanted to. So there's a little bit of a fearless creativity on this album that we had early on. And I think that kind of that's the one thing that people are connecting with.
I think, it's really easy to say you get a young, hungry band starting out. They've got a new sound. Then they get a taste of commercial success, marry supermodels, have a family, and then that drive to create something new doesn't feel like it's there anymore. But this obviously says something completely different. So, uh, can you sort of tell me the ethos behind what was in your head when you went into creating the album?
um yeah, I did all of those things that you said. uh
Yeah, completely.
Supermodel, kids, and then you go like I am ready to get out of the house, so then you find your creativity again. No.
Okay, right.
Yeah, that's something that it's it's never been in my mind, even though it may seem like it sometimes with music. But I've always been a little more attracted to the stuff that wasn't uh maybe a hit or a commercial or something like that. Um, but with this album, I I wasn't scared of that. I wasn't scared of success. I wasn't scared of failure. It was all about like just really not compromising and going for something and not stopping until you're finished. And if success comes with that, good. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I have a feeling that if success comes from this, it's going to be because it is real, it's true, and it came from uh, the depths of us. And so you can hear music from bands, and it sounds really good, and the song is put together, and it's like, yeah, this makes sense. But when you hear something that's real, and you hear something that is really passionate and comes from like, I don't know, it comes from a real space, it's going to stand out amongst everything else. And this is the proudest I've ever been of an album that we made because I feel like we really like allowed ourselves to just let loose and enjoy the process.
That's exactly what it sounds like. And you can hear, because I love the imperfect and I love hearing kind of not the polished sound. You can hear that maybe, your voice is cracking a bit, but
Yeah.
it adds that authenticity that you're talking about, which I
Well,
love.
they say imperfection is where humanity lies.
Ah, yeah, you're right. I
So
love that.
there you
Well,
go.
interestingly enough, you would have been asked, of course, that there is no question mark on the end of "Can we please have fun?" Which, in my mind, does that then sort of invoke an invitation to the audience or like a call to arms that you're asking them to join you and having the fun, or is it simply just about where you guys were at as a band?
I think it's open to interpretation for everybody because when Caleb kind of Caleb came up with the title, and he had sent me over a list of, I mean, he would just send stuff over kind of as it came. And that was one that stood out to me. And I know Kid Harpoon, our producer, Caleb, threw it by him and it stood out. And Caleb kind of had a personal relationship with it, kind of thinking about our band and the studio and just the world that we were in. And I thought like, wow, that's like a grand statement of, about the world and the state of the world and all these different things. So I do kind of feel like it is personal to everybody and how you want to interpret it, but it has also become something that is definitely an invitation to our audience. And I think that'll become more apparent when we start playing our live show, for this tour, this album.
I'm actually really excited to hear what else is on the album. I know I woke up this morning with Mustang going round and round and round in my head. And I was thinking, for you guys, when you're recording, does that happen to you when you're recording a song? Surely you'd wake up and you'd have the verses and the melody going around and around in your head. And
Oh,
if
yeah.
so,
Yeah.
does that get you sick of a song really quickly, or do you realize that's the mark of a great tune because it's stuck in your head?
With this album, while we were writing the songs, every song, even songs that may not have ended up making it onto the album, it was pretty painful for me because I didn't sleep very well because whatever we were working on, that was kind of in my dream. It was kind of, you wake up and it's like, oh, you think like, oh, it was just constant. And I would just have songs and I couldn't wait to record it to get it out of my head and move to the next thing. So yeah, these songs were etched in my brain for the entire process. And it was so refreshing after we were finished to actually hear it and go, oh, good. Because when it's playing over and over in your head, it's usually the things that you're unsure about.
Right.
But when you hear it as the finished product, you go like, man, I'm so glad that we didn't give up on that, because we were headed in the right direction, and there were so many chances for us to just go like, we'll come back to that. And then I feel like the spark would have been lost, but we committed, we stuck with it. And yeah, I'm excited for you to hear the rest of the album as well.
Well, I did read, I think it was in Rolling Stone magazine, you said you had the most fun. This is like the album that you had the most fun on. And with that title, Can We Please Have Fun? It suggested potentially, did that mean that the previous album wasn't as much fun when you see yourself, or is it just the way you recorded it?
No, I don't want to say that because we worked with an amazing producer. I just feel like me personally, I wasn't in a place where I was just free, free to be creative and to take risks. I was a little more calculated, and I feel like with the songwriting, at times in my past, I've overthought certain things, or maybe, like I said, given up on things before they had a chance to really blossom. And with this album, it it was fun, but it wasn't even really about being fun. It was just relaxed, and there was a confidence that was in the studio. Even when things would be in question, I had this like calm and this peace about me because I knew it was going to be great, and I knew we weren't going to stop until it was great. So that was something that I haven't really felt maybe ever in my career, and it doesn't have anything to do with who we've worked with in the past or anything like that. I just felt like we were at a place where we knew what we wanted, and we weren't going to give up until we got there.
Do you think that comes with maybe age as well, and being that you're effectively over 20 years in the game now?
Yeah, you definitely learn a lot on the way, and you kind of learn that there are things that you can kind of fall into and traps that you might, subconsciously set for yourself. But yeah, I mean, we've learned enough now to know kind of how to do things, and mainly just keeping out negativity. Negativity is the worst thing for art, and comparisons, comparing things to the worst possible thing you can compare it to. And just stopping that, nipping it in the bud. We all talked about it before we went in, like no negativity. And it worked.
I gotta say, Jared, the bass line in this latest tune is rad. Are you listening to anything in particular to get inspired, or was that just coming from within yourself?
No, not necessarily. I think that it's weird. There was a lot of like universe stuff on this album. Like it's so weird. And I am kind of a hippie now, but I try not to be. But like there were times where I would just like kind of come to almost just playing, like I would zone out and come to playing something. And I didn't write that. And I know
Yeah.
people talk about that stuff, but it happened. But I don't know. Thank you. And the guys know I'm not the best bass player in the world, but top five, top three. Some people say two. I don't know.
He's my favorite bass player. And he's not a hippie. Come on.
You're
Mm-mm.
just in the flow state, weren't you?
I was.
But what he's saying about the universe, it is, we did get to a place where we were all just so linked up. There was synchronicity happening. It was one of those things where as soon as we would kind of start on something, it would form like rather quickly, and we all just knew. I don't know. I mean, I feel like maybe it's probably an age thing, but also the family bond and being in the band and everything. It's kind of like one of those things where, when we were younger, we would play basketball. We would go to these tournaments, these church tournaments, and you would have like all these teams come in there with young dudes, hot shots, guys that were dunking and all this stuff. And there was this team from Lexington, Kentucky, and it was like this weird, almost weird inbred looking kind of family church thing, but it would be like uncles and their nephews and kids and everything, and no one could touch these guys on the basketball court because they knew exactly where the other person was. And that's what was happening with us in the studio. It was just like no look pass, no look pass. Like we knew exactly what we had to do and where we needed to go. And yeah, like Jared says, you would kind of look up and just be like, whoa, that was a good moment there.
That's fascinating because I've heard the members of Led Zeppelin actually saying that that's why they couldn't continue without Bonham, because they had such an incredible ESP. They just knew instinctively where each member was going. So it feels like, lose one member of Kings of Leon and maybe you'd lose that flow state almost.
We'd figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the member.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I was just last night moving a bottle of liqueur, a beautiful moldy designed bottle of liqueur away from my kids that you guys gave to my husband. I think when you were here, probably maybe 10 or so years ago, he drove you and took you jet skiing and the like. So that was a weird connection, I have to say.
Wow.
So
Wow, that's amazing.
We're some
yeah,
classy dudes.
I think it was the booze and maybe you left in the rest of your pot or something at the airport. But final question is, I saw you guys when you came here last time, like there was a bit of a gap from that small stage at the big day out to then seeing you play at Spark Arena in Auckland. Um, and I'd loved the new material, but I didn't get it. Say songs like maybe Radioactive and the like until seeing it live. It took it somewhere else. And then I got it and realized, wow, this is written for a live arena, stadium, what have you. Is it something that you will be thinking about with this next album? Or, like live, how is it going? And will we get to see it?
I these songs are kind of chameleons, because a lot of them started with just an acoustic guitar,
Yeah.
and they still sound as strong as the recorded version on an acoustic guitar. But
Love shows then.
when we play them live, you definitely go like, oh, these are different. Last night we debuted Mustang in Mexico City. It was our first time to play it live. And we put it in the set list right before Sex on Fire at the end of the set. And when we played Mustang and then we started Sex on Fire felt like a album track off of like an album that nobody cared about, because
Wow.
it was that big of a like, whoa, this is different. I don't know if the crowd felt it the way that we did, but we were definitely looking at each other going like, man, this is there's something that's just more inspired about this new batch of songs. And all of them have their own personalities, and they're all just gonna we just can't wait to get them in the set list so we can stop playing some of the old ones.
I can't wait for May. And hopefully we'll get to see you down under, not too far off.
Can't
better.
wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to get some jet skis, so let's
Yeah.
we'll
hook
be
up.
back. All right.
Thanks so much,
All right.
guys. We'll see you on the
Thank
flip
you.
side. Good luck for the
Bye.
album.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.